Video, I'm going to show you how to use this boba cooking machine here. Okay, so if you open it up, you'll see this is the empty machine with the burner inside. There's a pot that goes inside the burner. This is what the pot looks like. Okay, so this is where you're going to fill the water. Okay, a little bit below this W water line, and then we're going to place this pot inside the cooker. Okay, so now it's gone all the way flat inside. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take this pot out, and we're going to put some water in it. Okay, so I took out the pot. We can fill it with just regular tap water. Okay, use cold water. All right, so make sure that it's on the cold side. Okay, so I'm going to fill this up here, and I'm making a small amount of boba here, so I'm not going to fill up the water. Usually I fill up the water like to about here, but I'm going to do about halfway because I'm going to put a very small amount of boba there. So that should be good. So as you can see, I have about halfway between this water line. If you're going to use a whole bag of boba, this machine takes 1 kg, which is about 2 pounds, I guess. Okay, this bag is for this pot. You cannot use more than this bag. Okay, this is the most you can put into this pot. Otherwise, it will overflow. So I'm going to put about a quarter of this bag, maybe less, into this boba. So that's why I didn't fill up the water like I usually do. So usually I fill the water up to about there. Okay, leave a little bit of a gap, just to make sure that the machine, when it's boiling, that it doesn't overflow. So I'm going to put this pot back into the machine. Okay, so I put the pot back inside the machine. So make sure the machine is plugged in. Okay, and then those beeps. Okay, so now it's on. Okay, so now I'm going to hit menu, and you'll see that it's blinking on tapioca pearl. That's where you want it to be, on tapioca pearl. Now there's process adjustment. This shows you the timing for each of the steps. So if you go process adjustment again, cook time we have set to 25 minutes. Steam or braise have set to 28. So this is the time that it should be set to every time you start this machine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit process adjustment again until we get back to boil water step. Okay, so now once you plug it in and you hit menu, you're on tapioca pearl, you go ahead and hit start, and it's going to start boiling the water. You can close the lid here, and we'll let it boil. Once it's ready to add, it's going to move, the light will move to add ingredients, it'll beep again, okay, and then the water will be ready for you to put the tapioca pearls in. Okay, it's beeping, and you'll see it's moved from boil to add ingredients. Now it's ready to add the boba. There's a lot of steam coming out, so be careful with your hand. Open it slowly. Let the water drip out. Okay, let some of the steam come out, and now it's ready for the boba to go in. So I have an open pack of boba here. Okay, I'm going to use about this much, like a quarter of the bag, and we're going to pour it inside here. Okay, when you open the bag, there's a fresh pack inside, so make sure you remove that fresh pack. We're just going to throw this one away. Okay, and now we have the boba here. If it's a new bag of boba like this, it's vacuum sealed, so it'll be a little bit tight and stuck together. So you can press it a little bit on the sides here to make sure it's loose. This one is already loose because it's already open. You can see it moving around. Okay, now when you pour it in, you don't want to dump it in straight away. You want to slowly pour it in so it doesn't get stuck together. Okay. So again, I'm just putting a little bit of boba. That's all I'm going to do. As you can see, I still have a lot of boba left. I just put like maybe a quarter of the boba in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a spoon and give it a quick stir. This is the spoon I'm going to use. I'm keeping all my equipment here on this table next to the sink. Okay. So we have our boba scooper, our bowls, our strainer. We'll use all these things later. So right now I'm going to be using this spoon to stir my boba. I'm going to slowly stir it, not too fast, for about 30 seconds. Okay, so I finished stirring the boba. I'm going to let it go ahead and boil, okay? And I'm going to close the lid. And then eventually this timer should go off for 25 minutes. However, if the timer doesn't go off for whatever reason, it's still going to boil. But I have a separate manual timer here, so I'm going to start that timer just in case this timer doesn't go off for the boil. So I'm going to turn this timer on on the side here. There's a button to push down, and I'm going to set the minutes. It's the first button all the way on the left. So I'm going to set it for 25 minutes. Yeah, 25, and then I'm going to hit start. And now the timer has started. So I'm placing it right next to the boba machine. Oh, the timer has gone off on this, so we're good. I'm going to go ahead and stop this timer. We don't need it, but just in case, I put it on. But I'll leave it here. So now the timer is on. Now it's going to boil. Then it's going to move to steam automatically for another 28 minutes, and then it's going to beep when it's done. And when it's done, then I'll show you the process to finish the boba for serving. Okay, now the boiling has finished and it's moved to the next stage, braise or steam, and it automatically set to 28 minutes. So I'm going to open this here now. Again, be careful when you open it. And I'm going to give it another stir. Using the same spoon, I'm going to go ahead and stir it. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and close the lid and let it finish the process. While it's steaming, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wash off this spoon. Okay, I'm going to get my strainer ready because we're going to have to strain the water out from the boba once it's done. So I'm going to leave the strainer in here, and once we strain it, we're going to wash it with cold water for about a minute or so. Let all the water strain out. We'll put the syrup on top. We'll mix it, and then we'll place it into this bowl, and I'll label it with the time on when the boba was made. Okay, so we'll go through that step once we're done. So the steaming just finished. It made 3 beeps. I missed the beeps, but as you can see, the screen is off now, and it says end. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and finish this up right now. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to strain this in the strainer, and then I'm going to wash it with water. So I'm going to lift this out from here. Okay, so I took the pot out from here. The pot's out. And then I'm going to pour it into the strainer. So I'm trying to do this with one hand, so it's a little bit hard. Let's see, I'm pouring the water out in here. And then see the boba's coming out into the strainer? Let it all come out into the strainer here. I'm going to wash it in the cold water. Okay, I'm washing it off. Okay, just swirling it around. I'm going to do this for about 30 seconds or so, okay? And then I got to make sure all the water is out. Once I wash everything, I want to make sure all the water is drained out. There shouldn't be any water left in here after you strain this. Next, I'm going to transfer the boba into this bowl, okay? So I'm going to put the boba in here. But first, I'm going to rinse this out a little bit to make sure it's clean, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and transfer this boba. Again, I want to make sure there's no water remaining, and I'm going to put it into the bowl. Okay, so now I've transferred this boba into the bowl, and next I'm going to get the black sugar syrup. I'm going to coat it, I'm going to mix it, I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes, and I'll trace the sample to make sure it's sweet enough. So here's the black sugar syrup here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. I'm going to put a coat on top of here. So let's open this up. Basically, this is a small amount of boba, so I'm not going to put too much, but I am going to cover the top layer. Make sure it's fully coated. Okay, that should be enough. So I poured the syrup in, and I'm going to mix it around. And you can see there's some excess syrup. You want to be able to see some of that syrup here to make sure you have enough syrup in there. Otherwise, it won't be moist enough, okay? So now I'm going to let it sit in here for a few minutes. and it's good to keep, from any dirt getting in, just keep the lid on top. And then I'm going to put a label with the time on it. Okay, so I've written the time on here, 12:40 p.m. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4:30, we should be throwing this out, because then it's going to get hard. Also, make sure you soak the pot, because it gets very sticky. It's easier to clean if you soak it right after you make the boba. And then same thing with the strainer. I'm going to go ahead and spray it clean right away, because boba residue is very sticky. And make sure the water is hot, so it melts off the stickiness.